everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is Dash Rendar, and today we are going full bore nerd. Because we are going to be testing fantasy cloaks. So there are many things tied to fantasy that are staples of the genre, whether that's impractical female armor, glorious long hair for all the men, perfect physiques, dramatic slow motion. The other thing that's going to be high up there is cloaks. So I have myself a cloak here, and we're going to be testing out how it works, whether you can do things with the hood. I'm going to try some different move sets with it and see how much it gets in the way and just have a goofy, fun time. So to get this ball rolling, the first and most obvious one is going to be shooting a bow with a cloak on. I think in a lot of times Legolas generally has the hood off, but there's lots of fantasy art and artwork of an archer with their hood on doing a shot. And I'm gonna see how much that's gonna, like, if that obstructs the vision or if it's gonna be something that can be done. So hood on, but it is relatively stiff. And so the first thing I'm noticing is that I have to keep pulling this back to take that shot. It can't drape over gracefully like that, but we have the hood on. I feel silly, but I'm having a good time. And let's go ahead and get a shot in. So that right there is something that can certainly happen when working with wood arrows. What happens over time is the nocks get worn down. These are reinforced with horn, but even with that, as you continue to use them, they're gonna lose quality and they're gonna degrade. And so these things just kind of break, it happens. And that's one arrow, unfortunately, that's down for the count. But we're moving on with the test. All right, not so bad. So it can be done. You got to kind of pull it back a little bit, but you can certainly take those shots with a hood on as long as you set it up correctly. Now we're gonna add a little bit more range. We have our duplicitous sheriff, let's call it over there. Take some pot shots at him with the hood up and see if I can actually, if this is gonna interrupt with just that range of motion and movement. So it is a little funky, like getting it ready and trying to move around and everything like that. It actually kind of adds an extra element of difficulty, and I'm having trouble getting that smoothness going. You can't just do quick shots one after the other. I'm gonna pull the hood back now for this one here and see how I do. Well, that was better. I was aiming for the head. It's a lot easier without the hood. So all that to say, without the hood, substantially better. Maybe keep it on, and then as you approach and you pull it back to get those shots so you can go quickly. And also, just for fun, here's the one that hit the helmet. I didn't think it was gonna break like that. Usually these can take a few of it, but this is an older arrow, so I think it's past its prime. The only thing that sucks is the arrowhead's missing, so that's the expensive thing for me. Gotta find another one. Cloaks do have a certain tropey feel to them. They were really common historically, from the Greeks to the Romans, and in the Romans they would separate the rank and position by the color of the robe. It would be red for the legions and purple for the higher ups. In medieval Europe, they were also certainly a very common thing. They were used by a lot of travelers, and the actual word cloak comes from an old North French word like cloquet, I think, and it literally meant like a bell, because it's like a bell-shaped thing. So they do have those roots in history, but whether it be worn on the battlefield, let's try and keep testing and see if I can make this work. Now we're gonna try some like moving type shots, moving around and doing some different things like that.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
All right, so we are having some fun here today. I'm getting muddy and testing out nonsense. It worked pretty well for most of the stuff there. Honestly, it's not too bad if it's in the way. What I'm gonna try now is I wanna try a super dramatic spin shot. So that actually took quite a few tries to get because just everything gets in the way. It's so hard to try and like have it. I had to like set it up over top of this and then come over the top and make sure it's out of the way before you pull back. So shots are probably gonna be a hard pass for me. I don't think I would try that with a cloak. Next up, this is gonna be the real test. This is gonna be the crouch and disappear. I honestly just kind of gone off the rails here. I had like an idea in my head for this video, and now I'm just running with different tropes. So I want to try and do a jumping downward shot. So like from a high place, jumping downwards and taking a shot like that. Will say one thing about this, it's not getting in my way when I'm rolling. That's not something I expected. It just like kind of gets out of the way pretty easily. So you can definitely, I mean, this is kind of different to the conclusion I was thinking, but it's actually pretty dang good to move around with and to be able to kind of get movements in with, as long as you have it back. You got to kind of kick it back first off. It's got to be behind the shoulders. But once it's back behind the shoulder, it really doesn't get in the way too much. So that's kind of counter to what I thought. I thought it'd be just be this giant cumbersome thing. And when I started rolling around and moving around, it would be impossible to do anything, but it's doing exceptionally well. Different than what I thought. So one other thing I think could be a little difficult in a cloak would be sword play. I'll try that out here. We have our hand and a half, and I'm gonna do some sword stuff and just swing it around by myself in the backyard like a child in 5th grade. I don't think it's gonna be quite as bad as a lot of people would think, because in reality, if you watch fencers or people who do actual combat fighting, they're not wide overarching swings. They're not really coming around and doing these crazy motions. They're in super tight. They're moving, the movements are generally really light and fast. I'm just gonna try some moves here. Yeah, it's not too bad. It is a bit of a hindrance, and I would say, if anything, it is a detriment, but we are having fun now, so I am going to try to do the most dramatic motions with the hair down to try and see what amazing slow-mo shots I can get with a cloak, a sword, and long hair. All right, so that was fun, and that's the one thing I hope that you guys are gleaning from this channel as I'm doing more videos, is that I love history and I love the truth of it, but really I like to be entertained and have fun more than anything. So if you can sprinkle in some history with a little bit of fun here and there, it's just an extra special thing. So don't take anything too seriously that I do. It's just in an attempt to try and make things as fun as possible, because that's why I would want to make YouTube videos, is to make people smile, right? Like I said, this video was going to be about the history of cloaks, but it really just turned into what fun things could I do while wearing a cloak to make it look as cool as possible. It was a ton of fun. I had a great time, lost track of myself. And so this is the video now. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's probably gonna be a little bit of a shorter one, but it's just rolling around, goofing around, getting muddy, and having a good time. So if you like this video, as always, you know, leave a comment, let me know. I'll try to get back to more historical stuff, but the fantasy stuff is just a ton of fun to do.